Hello, it's Rob here and welcome to the fourth video in my build series of the Tamiya Volkswagen Beetle Rally car on the MF01X chassis. Today I'll be covering parts bag D, which is steps 26 to 39, and as that's the last bag, I'm hoping that will complete the build of the chassis. So we'll get on. The first step is step 26, which we're going to need two of the standard 3x10mm screws, BA6s, and then parts C8 and C3, and another C8 and then C4 to make up a left and right lower wishbone stroke A-arm. And again, really easy. I've done them both here. It's only one screw, but again there is a note to say to line up these lugs on the same side, so that's all done. So we can quickly move on to step 27, which will be installing those wishbones onto the front of the chassis. And for that we're going to need two DB2s, which are 13x4mm step screws. Originally we would require the two BC2s, which are the 3x46mm screw pins. However, as I mentioned in my other video, I have some spare, I think they're 48.5mm stainless steel hop-up options there with the E-clips. We need two BC5 3mm O-rings, which again I've already covered, so I've already installed them into the two BC6s gearbox joints. And then, other than the chassis, we need these two parts here, C18. And I think I may install these first, if I'm honest. And they just simply screw in with the step screw into, let me look, into that hole there. I think we can insert these gearbox joints, and then checking the manual, the right side goes that way, so I think I'll just have a play. And there is a bit of play in that. I think I'll just try the other side. It doesn't seem to be as much as the back. So I think I might leave it there for a minute and go and see if I've got any nice thin shims to get rid of some of that play, so I'll be back shortly. Right, so I had a look around and had a test, and I found these. They are a bit big really, especially the centre hole, but I've used them for these bars in the past and stuff, and they do work quite well, so we'll give this a go. And yeah, not too tight. certainly nowhere near as wobbly. And then I just need to attempt to get the E-clip on. Well, I think that's the first time that's ever happened, that I've not had a single one of those E-clips fly off. So now we can move on to step 28. Step 28 is making up the front axles, and for this you'll need two BA9s, which are 5mm ball connectors, 4 BD5s, which are the kingpins, 2 BA13s 1150 bearings, and 2 BC7 front wheel axles. On the plastic parts side you're going to need parts F11, F12 and 2 off of F1. And as you can see, I've already made the one up, so we'll start by inserting the bearing and the axle into the steering hub. There we go. And then checking the orientation, we'll slide those two together, and not that much play, to be honest. Quite a nice fit. And I'll get one of the kingpins as he drops it. Try and find the screw hole. I think that's it. Forgot about that. I got so annoyed on the rear one that I was going to put an R-clip in, but then forgot. So there we go, there goes the R-clip. And the second screw hole. And there we have the two front axles all ready to go. Step 29 is attaching the front axles, and this is the last step where you need to decide which way you're going to go with the ground clearance. Again, as I say, mine's the Rally, so I'm going up high. So I believe the differences are shown here. For the high ground clearance, we've got the one step screw in the very top and the other screw pin also in the top hole of the two mounting holes. And for the low one you do the opposite, mount them in the bottom ones. However, again, I won't be using BC3. I've got these stainless steel upgrades with the E-clips, so I'll be using them. And again, you're going to need two BD2s, which are the 3x14mm step screws, and we're going to need the dog bones. So we'll hopefully get straight into it. And I think if I look at this way, this one's the right, so that goes there. Something like that, yes. So I'm going to turn it over and hopefully mount them this way up. And again, just checking, we need the top mount. Let's just check. And again, if I'm honest, not much in the way of slop in that, so I think we'll just crack on and see if I can get it through. And that's the front steering, and even without any shims or anything, that's fairly stiff, so we'll have to see how we go. And I'll put the other one on shortly, but then we've got steps 30 and 31 which are building up and installing the pogo sticks again, so the other shocks still haven't come, so I'm going to def those two steps and we'll be back for step 32. Step 32 is adding the front body mounts and the front bumper, and for this we're going to need 6 off of the BA6s, 10mm screws, 2 C1s body posts and 1 C2 which is the front bumper, and it's just a case of screwing it all in. And that's step 32 complete. Step 33 is installing the pinion gear onto the motor and also the motor plate, and for this we're going to need 1 off of DB3, which is a 3x3mm grub screw which I've already installed into DB6, the 16 tooth pinion gear. We've then got BD7 1 off, which is the motor plate, which to hopefully help seal it, I've already put a coat of anti-wear grease on it. And we're going to need also plastic part A8, the pinion stopper, which helps us get the pinion gear in the right, or at the right depth on the spindle itself. So I think we'll start off and we'll get this motor plate on. And then we can start this off and just very gently nip it up. Like so. Then we get the cover here and slide the pinion all the way up to the top of the cover, and then we can tighten it. And there's a note over here about folding the wires over, so we'll do that now, like that, and we're ready for step 34. Step 34 is installing the motor into the chassis here, and for this we're going to need the motor, the chassis. We need 2 BD1s, which are 3x27mm screws, 1 BA6, which is 3x10mm screw, and a BD8, which is the motor mount plate, and then on the plastic parts we're going to need A9, which I've just remembered I forgot to cut out. So there we go. Quite a big lug there, so I think I'll nip that off. With my blunt blade, and we can put that aside, and I think I'll be putting a bit of anti-wear grease on that to begin with. Now before we start properly, if we look around here, you'll see the motor mounts are slots. Quite a lot of Tamiyas have different holes depending on what size pinion gear you've got. But in this one it's a slot, so you can kind of have an infinite number of different pinion gears. And down here I believe there's a table showing you that it looks like we can go from 16 tooth to 20 tooth, and then it tells you the actual gear ratios for that. Now I think to install this I'm going to pop these two BD1s through the motor mount BD8, and then slide them through there, the mount holes, except I missed one. And yes, it does look like you can see the screws, so that's quite good. So I'm just going to pop it in, try and line the screw holes up. And I'm just going to gently nip them up. And then we need to check the teeth alignment here, and because the hole's so small I'm just going to have to use my magnifying glasses, and we're not even touching because I've just noticed this one's fully in the down position. That looks about the ideal place, so I'm going to nip those up a bit. Have another check. Yeah, I think that's fine. So I'm now going to completely nip it up. And then I'm just going to have a check. That goes like so. Right, so I've got my anti-wear grease. I'm just going to go all over this, including the inside of the screw hole. And that completes step 34, and we can move on to the electronics. Step 35 is installing the electronics, and I've already done that. There are a couple of recesses here in the chassis. The one that fits the TBL-E02 very nicely, and the other one is for the receiver. However, as you can possibly see, I've got one of these massive, almost original ACOMS 27 megahertz receivers at the minute, so it's way too big, so I've just stuck it there for now, and then I've poked the aerial through that hole there. So the only other task to do is to connect the motor wires or cables, and to do that the green should go to the blue in my experience, and it is sometimes tricky to get these seals meshed, but there we go. And then yellow to yellow. There we go. Like that, and then we can swiftly move on to step 36, which is installing the tyres on the wheels. And before I do, I've actually done the other three, but I had a look round in my spares boxes and actually found some old M chassis foam inserts, so I've stuck them in, and then let me just check which way I've got these. Yep, it's just a case of pushing the rim, and then I just tend to grab a hold of the corner and pull it round until it sits in. Turn it over, check the other side, and these aren't too bad, they're quite soft, so I probably will end up gluing those in, but I think to begin with I'll give them a go, and if the rims come off or the bead comes out, then I'll look at gluing them, and that's step 36. Step 37 is adding the wheels to the chassis, and for this you're going to need 4 off of BD4, which are the 4mm flange lock nuts, 4 off of BA13 1150 bearings, 4 off of BB3 2x10mm stainless shafts, and plastic parts. What number are they? A5, which are the 12mm hexes, and it's just a case of getting a bearing, popping it in, hopefully it's not too tight to fit. Nope, that's alright. And then getting one of the bars, like that, and then we just go around and do the other 3. And the very last step before we can move on to start prepping the body is step 38, which is to install the battery holders, and for this we're going to need 2 B15s plastic parts and 2 BD9, which is 6mm snap pins as Tamiya call them, but I've always called them R pins. And the first job here is to bend the circle up a bit and we got something like that. And then we just, this is going to come this way, so I'm just going to pop this one here and mount this. Which is rather more difficult than I was expecting. Oh, there we go. Like that. And then we can pop this one and try and find the hole, which I can't see. There it is. And there we have one very low rider rally car. To mount the rear shocks we need the step screws and parts A10 for the bottom and A11 for the top. These are spacers, and we take the step screw, slide it through, double check that yes, F11, A11 is the top one, and it screws in this way round. And normally it wouldn't be a problem, but because I'd already made this up, unfortunately, because of the prop shaft bevel gear housing, this rear side wouldn't go low enough for me to get a screwdriver in to mount the shock with it all in like that, so I'm having to take it to pieces a bit. And then it's the same for the bottom, but with the deeper spacer. Something like that. And then we can move on to the front side. As you can see, I've already done the one, and again I've put the ball joint or ball connector on the bottom one. Again, don't tighten that too tight. And then we should be able to snap this one in place. Like that. And then that's all the shocks on. So I can get the wheels back on and see how we go. And with the wheels back on, that's the chassis finished. We just need to move on to the body now, but just to show you, we've got virtually no rebound so far, but we'll have to have a closer look once we get the body on and get it on its first run, just to see how it goes. But hopefully that'll be doing for me. And there we are, all done and ready to go. So I hope you've enjoyed this, and look forward to seeing you on the next episode, which will be starting the bodywork. Thanks for watching. Bye.